Lucky you!
Best 36 holes in golf.
You tuned in to Alternate Shots Podcast,
Arnie's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Barkeys, Sandy's,
poker,
Bond, James Bond.
horse racing,
I'm all in.
great movies.
Alfred Hitchcock.
We have no script.
And down the stretch they come.
We're glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Whoop, let's start again. Hey, Alternate Shots fans, here we go. Today we're going to cover the East Course with noted historian and Tillinghast expert Phil Young. Welcome to the podcast, Phil. We're pleased to have you twice in 1 week.
Double and triple the pleasure for me.
2 courses, 2 times.
The very first piece I ever read about a particular golf architect was in the USGA Golf Journal about A.W. Tillinghast. And so here was this guy that I'd read about, that I'd studied some of his work, and every single article I ever read or every single reference to him started off with the creator of Wingfoot. You know, it was like, okay, here's the guy, but you know, he's done a lot of great work, but it always starts with the creator of Wingfoot.
Yeah, so Phil, what's interesting there is that audio from Gil, who understands the dirt and the grass and the bunkers and the intentions of Tillinghast from a golf course builder, architect. He moves the earth. He gets in there with the plow and so forth. What do you think of that point he makes? Tilly, Tilly, the creator of Wingfoot.
He created it. That phrase is used with him on a number of different courses, but it really resounds with Wingfoot.
With all the great courses he has designed, not that I've seen all of them, but I've seen some of them. Wingfoot comes to mind for probably additional reasons besides the fact that Tilly designed it so well, because he designs them all very well. But the history that comes with Wingfoot, the opens, the membership, the club, the best 36 holes in golf.
By the time you get to the 40s, Wingfoot left everybody in the rearview mirror as far as hosting majors, silly courses, and it'll always remain that way.
I mean, Quaker Ridge is a beauty. It's not far away, and Baltusrol's got some nice. Is also very nice. But you let me pick my spot to play, that's going to be Wingfoot every time.
And not having to apologize to my friends over at Baltusrol, there's no question that Wingfoot has the 2 best Tillinghast courses on a single site. It's not even worth a discussion other than that.
But you're independent. Why do you say that?
Because I've been to both sites and both courses on both sites, and it's, to me, a fairly obvious thing. For me, you already know, there is nothing that can compare to Bethpage Black. That's where I grew up. That's in my blood big time. I'm the historian for the San Francisco Golf Club and several others. But Wingfoot is special. He really dug into what he was doing there, every inch of the place, with everything he could do. Look at the names of the holes. He did those things on purpose. And it's interesting because you want to start with the second green, because that name had importance to Tilly, Man of War. See, he loved Man of War. During his course consultation tour for the PGA from 35 to 38, in 36, he was in Kentucky and took a day off from his work to go visit the burial site from Man of War and pay his respects. And the reason the second hole is named that is because of the design. The design is fairly straight left side of the fairway, and to him, that was like racing. You're just tied to the left pole and the fence along, going around the track, and you really have to work hard at that position to get it just right to come down and win. It's the same thing with the hole. That's why he designed it that way, because that was Man of War in the way he raced.
You got to avoid that rough on the left, though. That's the challenge.
If you're even in the first cut there and you've hit the right tumbler, like you hit a little left power fade, you can see 30, 40 yards run out from there.
But it's all going to kick dead right when it gets down there. So you have to get it far enough up to run it onto the green. If you don't, you're going to be down on the lower right side in the rough in someone's divot, probably because there's 1,000 shots from there a day.
So wouldn't you agree then that in order to get it to the right spot on the left side, you have to be
Hug the rail. Yep.
a good, not just hugging the rail, a good player.
All right, Billy, quiz time. Where's the master bunker on this hole, Billy? Come on.
I think it's the short fairway bunker. That's the only bunker I worry about on that hole.
Well, that may be the only one you worry about, but that's not correct because the master bunker is always up by the green.
No, I meant the fairway bunker. I wasn't even attempting a shot at the master bunker. I was only explaining the bunker that is in my head from tee to green, or well, till I get past it. I can make a par from anywhere on that hole, but that bunker has got to be dealt with. But I'd rather be in the front left bunker than the fairway bunker, because from the front left bunker you can hit it up to the back left side of the green, and when the pin's up there, and the slope of the green will help you out a great deal.
But look at this green, though. It's double cut.
You can see the mowing lines, absolutely.
What do you think these greens are running in those days?
I'd say 7 to 8.
Through the magic of podcasting, Phil and Billy, we are moving from 2 East all the way down to Bobby Collins's favorite hole, 7 East. This to me is just an unbelievable hole, 7 East. And look at the beautiful views you had. Like you said, Phil, we've lost some trees on purpose, but the important ones are there. And you can see the 8th green. You can see the 4th fairway over there to the right. You can see one west in the fairway and one west. It's unbelievable, the views and vistas we picked up.
Because what I love about this, and it's really important, Tilly, I mentioned it last time, he took great pride in his green entrances. He wrote his biggest gift, as it were, to the art of golf course architecture was his green entrances and how they fed into the green, how they controlled many aspects of the green.
If I can come up short left on this hole, regardless of where the pin is, it's hard for me to hit that green in 2. So I want to be right there short left where I can putt up at the hole regardless of where it is.
Anywhere short right.
Yeah, doomed. Short right's, yeah, no way to get it close.
Moving from the 7th East, we're going to go across. We've gotten a little refreshment. Maybe that was a dark cup of coffee in 1923, or it was a light gin and tonic. But now
Or
we're.
a hunk of cheese on a Ritz cracker.
Do we see bunkers on the right of the screen? Or, Phil, are these the beginning of the bunkers over there?
But it goes back to how the bunkers were built with Wingfoot. And I can thank Neil for this. He was the one who taught me about this, because we got talking about bunkers and how they, because of a lot of the angles in them, how difficult they must have been to be done in back in the 20s. Tilly had them built the way they would build a lot of inland courses in the UK, because you'd have those same kind of problems because they would like sand sweeping up the face. And what they would do is they would put sod there and let it die off. And as it's dying off, they would put sand on it. And as it keeps dying, they put more and more sand on it, because that dead grass becomes a mesh that then holds the sand in place. And there's actually some photographs showing the development of a couple of the greenside bunkers, light amounts of grass, and then they're dying off, and then there's sand on, and later on full sand.
So, Phil, moving down a couple holes, we're on 13 East. No one has picked 13 East of the 8 holes, and it's the shortest, or tied with the shortest hole at Wingfoot, the par 3s. No one's picked it to make par or better for a large sum of money.
In my opinion, this hole is easier to hit in 1 than 2.
What's interesting to me about this hole, in fact, about all the par 3s over at Wingfoot, Tilly liked to put on many of, if not quite most, of his courses, what he called a tiny Tim. That's today always known as a little Tilly. And it's 110 to 115-ish yards, and just surrounded by a sea of sand. This has that same almost type of characteristic.
The 15 East, other than 6 West, it's the shortest par 4 of Winged Foot. Why is this one so hard?
Well, again, it's the difficulty in Tilly courses are 90% in the approach to the green. And when you look at this and you look at the slope on the right side coming from the bunker up, right? If that sand went up almost to the top, it's an easier hole, because for the most part, you're not going to bury into that at the top. You're going to hit it and glance. But here, if you don't get into the sand, you've got a brutal stance in nice heavy rough. So that's hard enough. But then the way the green runs away from, no matter where you are in it, into different directions. So that's a tremendous hazard. And as a result, you're then saying to yourself, got to stay away from it. So now you're going to go left to the green. And that's no bargain either. It's a wonderfully thought out, you look at that bunker, it seems like no big deal. But think about what that bunker has everybody thinking about from the fairway. And that's the whole purpose of the master trap too. Because if it gets you thinking the wrong way or thinking the right way, but not able to do it, you're messed up. All because of that bunker.
Which one is the master trap on this hole, Billy?
Right side.
All right. You got it.
I don't like being down in that bunker. First of all, you could get lost, and the group is going to play as a threesome on in from 16.
You can get up the hill at all.
That's
It's the only place not to go on that hole. I mean, there's bad spots, but that's the worst of them all, down to the right.
Inbounds at Winged Foot, it's perhaps the worst place to be. Now we've moved to 17 East, which is, to me, one of the prettiest holes at Winged Foot. Way back when, there was a bunker there on the left.
It's like every other hole there. They're superb. There isn't, this is the rarest of places you have. It really is. And it's so easy to say, but it's so true. Each hole is a piece of artwork on its own. You find, no matter how great a course is that he did, almost every one of them has a hole that's like, oh, I wish that wasn't there. And yet here, every single hole has stood the test of time. It's again, another superb job at the restoration of it. Again, showing you that whole front portion of it, which is just the fairway becoming the green, which is what he did superbly.
I knew someone who would hit a putter off that tee.
Who's that?
You
You ever
put
hit a
birdie on
putter there?
17.
Have you ever tried a putter on this tee, Billy?
I've tried it with Neil. I can't hit it like he could. Neil could hit a putter like a 2-iron if he wanted to.
Worked very closely, as you know, and maybe some members of Winged Foot don't know who Doug Smith is. We call him Doug Smith. When he penned his name, it was always Douglas LaRue Smith, decorated war veteran, think 2 Purple Hearts. And his heart was always with Winged Foot, but he took this gentleman in with him, Billy's brother, Neil, taught him everything he knew. And Neil took it from there. And I think Neil lived in many eras. I think he lived in the Roaring 20s through his research and through his readings and stuff like that. No more better than this little audio clip that I'm going to share with you, and we can talk about it.
In 1929, the Yankees were the greatest team in the history of baseball. They had been unbeatable in 27 and 28. They start the season, Babe Ruth's not playing up to his standards, still the best player, but not to his standards. And then he goes AWOL. He just disappears, and the newspapers track him. And in theory, he's sick. He's too ill to play baseball. But in fact, he's playing a lot of golf, including at Winged Foot. He played 54 holes here on the Tuesday before the Open. And then Ruth comes here to the U.S. Open on Friday when he's got a day off, follows Bobby Jones around inside the ropes, smoking a cigar. And then on the Saturday, goes down to Philadelphia to play a game against the Athletics, and Lefty Grove, perhaps the greatest pitcher of his era. And Ruth hits 2 homers off him. And Sunday, paper's headline says, Jones-Espinosa tie. Ruth hits 2 homers, beats A's.
You know, he was missing in action because he was playing golf everywhere, especially at Wingfoot. He played 3 rounds of golf the Tuesday during the week of the Open at Wingfoot. Can you imagine that being done at LA Country Club this past summer? Nobody's playing there.
It was
He was
so
an avid golfer.
it was so good hearing his voice. It really was. It's I could see the twinkle in his eye, the trying to say that straight, and yet the little coming up smile with each part of the sentence that followed.
Okay, I have a great story about 18 East with Neil. It was probably 6 or 7 years ago, and the entire dining room was full of the member guest dinner. And there was a light on 18 East Green, and Mike Durkin had set a pin up in the front left of that green in an impossible place for chipping contest as part of the member guest.
Front left as you're coming up the fairway, Billy, correct?
Correct, yes. Where that big hump is.
A little further away than where it is now.
Yeah, well, you would never put a pin there. It was literally in a ridiculous place. That was the whole idea of it. So we're all in there having dinner and stuff like that, and we're at dessert. And someone looks out the window and says, there's a couple of guys out there in the dark, but with the light, putting at that pin from the back right corner, which is where Dirks had set up the chip off. So I said to my guest, Rob Moldera, God bless him, let's go out. So we went out. I'm going to tell you, within 10, 12 minutes, there was probably 40 of us out there, all trying to make that putt from the back right to that pin. And Neil narrating it.
Before the Open had begun in 1929, golf was at its highest point ever. Bobby Jones was at the peak of his career, and this was a sporting event that the whole world was paying attention to. His opening round, he ended up setting the course record, 69, first time he ever broke 70 in the U.S. Open. Second round, he shot a 75, and third round a 71. Sufficient for him to have a substantial lead, and it looked like he was going to walk in with the championship. Now Bobby needs to finish with 3 bogeys and a par to win, and he's on 15 just short of the green, and he does what every one of us does. He sculls it over the back, leaves it on the upslope, chunks it onto the green, and 3 putts, ends up with a triple bogey. Now his lead is totally squandered. And as Obie Keeler, his best friend, wrote about later, this would have been the greatest pressure that Bobby Jones ever felt. Brentlin Rice said that he was the greatest putter he had ever seen, and that was the greatest putt that he had ever seen. It could be said that Bobby Jones' win here made Wingfoot. There's some truth to that. We are, of course, a great club and a great golf course, but it certainly put us on the map.
That one's got a chance. That one, oh, nope, too far left. That's too far. That's gone. Every one of them. It was something I'll never forget. It's an individual vision. I mean, there's a million really good movie directors out there, but no one's been able to duplicate Hitchcock. You could try, but you can't. And it's a certain individual eye. And Tilly had his own.
And he was able to get away with it because he intertwined the courses. So there's no paralleling holes in the minds of those playing them. You're not saying, oh, going up this, oh, now I'm coming back down. No, not at all. It's a totally different concept for you as a player. And that's how he was able to put them all in together. It's like every other hole there. They're superb. This is the rarest of places you have. It really is. And it's so easy to say, but it's so true. Each hole is a piece of artwork on its own. And yet here, every single hole has stood the test of time.
Why are you laughing?
Well, at least we have the laugh to add at the end.
Right. We've gone from 12 handicaps at this to 19 handicaps in just a week.
That's what happened. Somebody changed my grip, and the next thing you know, I can't do the podcast anymore. I felt like I was in the first row of the first pew at church right during the sermon.
And your brother was poking you.
My brother was making me laugh.
Thanks for joining us today.
Billy Harmon.
We really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity.
And please
Arky.
subscribe to the show.
Two-router.
Hit them
Odd
hard
Job.
and hit them off.
That's 36 holes.